Take a look at this, folks. This is what we're dealing with trying to get a yard in. We saw there was a fair amount of rock. The more we cleaned up, the more they seemed to show up. I rented this rock rake that attaches to the skid steer, ran it for 3 days, and it seemed the more we cleaned up, the more that showed up. But with many hands and a lot of work, we went out and we used the rock rake over the entire yard. We went over it 3 times, went over the whole yard on 2 different occasions on hands and knees, picking up the rocks that it missed or that were buried. It didn't kick up. We put a solid week and a half in the process of getting this yard dragged, the rock rake picked up, and then the seed down. Now that the bulk of the rock is picked up, I hooked the 4-wheeler onto this homemade yard grader, lane grader that I've made, that I've used on various occasions for different things. Went over the entire area, I'm gonna say at least 5 times, multiple directions. Dragging all the high spots, and again, this also kicked up, so between times that I went over it, we'd go out and pick up the bigger rocks. Like I said, went over it probably 5, maybe 6 times on various angles, and it did a pretty good job. Hopefully this is the last time I get stuck. I got stuck so many times with the skid steer pulling out stumps. We do have spots here where there's a lot of clay silt type soil. In the process of digging out the stumps, a lot of times I'd have to move around just a little bit to get the forks on the skid steer in the correct place, and the first thing I knew, I was bottomed out. Here I had pulled in with a load of dirt to backfill the rock area that we have that's going to be our patio, and before I knew it, the back wheels had sunk down, pretty heavy load, could not get out. I could move the truck around, ended up hooking on another vehicle and pulling it out.
outside. We may not have been posting the most the last couple of weeks. Not that we've been sitting around doing nothing. If you look behind us here, this was all woods a year ago when we bought this property. We have taken out hundreds and hundreds of little trees, pulling those stumps out. As you can see in the video, I rented a rock rake attachment that goes onto the skid steer. Basically, what it does, it's a drum with a bunch of cogs on it, kind of like a tiller concept or a mulcher, but it's made for rock and debris. And if you look here, you can still see there's a lot of rock on here. I'm guessing in an acre and a half of land that we've cleared here, I'm guessing there's 25 yards of rock that we have cleaned up. And then I dragged it with a little grader I have to drag it even, and of course that kicks up more rocks. And I'm gonna be renting that rock rake attachment tomorrow. And I'm gonna go over the whole yard again because there's just a lot of spots that there's too many rocks. The boys and I, we spent probably a 3/4 of a day picking up all the rocks that were the bigger ones. But like I said, when we dragged it even, we kicked up a lot more stuff. I'm going to show you the back of the house here real quick. So what we did with the rock, we are going to be putting a patio out the back. And in a way, it's helped me from not needing to haul quite as much fill dirt in. And if you can see right there, we have just all the rock that we gathered. We put it back there. And then I don't have to haul more fill dirt in, even and out. So basically, we want to be able to walk out the back door with a covered patio. We're going to pour concrete. It's not going to be a wooden deck. It's going to be covered, walk straight out, and then the lawn will just taper down from there. Unfortunately, I can't really run a tiller through our soil here. There's spots where it's decent. Like half of our gardens where we're going to have the garden is decent soil. Like there's no rock, and then all of a sudden you hit a line and there's just rock everywhere. Right here in this corner where we cleared out is where the garden is going to be. There's some trees in there. I leveled off about a foot of dirt, kind of evened it out. And one of these days we're going to go get over to the barn and get that done. The big push for getting the yard in right now is it's still spring. I wish I had it planted 2 weeks ago. We don't really have the water to water everything, so I got to take advantage of the spring rains. It's been kind of rainy the last couple days. I found somebody over in Bonner's Ferry that has an old haystack that looks like it wasn't covered. Decomposing hay is going to be perfectly what I need to cover once I get the grass seed down, to cover that so it retains its moisture. Yeah, that's the plan for this week. Get the yard in, get the garden fence in, probably go to Kalispell, get some compost, get some stuff planted in the garden, and we have a little buddy coming out here. And we have a little buddy that showed up. Jordan, what do you think, Jordan? Are you chilly? Here, look at the camera.
This is my baby.
Say hi.
Say hi.
Well, look how big he is. You know, he's way up there.
It's chilly out here.
Yeah,
You're without a coat.
little on the chilly
You
side.
need
He
to
comes
run in
walking
and put a
out
coat
barefoot. I got a whole bunch of tomato plants started. Had them sitting outside so they can get the sun. And the chickens came up and ate most of them.
Remember those plants that we planted the other week? Well, I had them sitting outside and the chickens discovered them and just started eating the tops of them off.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed.
Ate most of the leaves off. Sometimes they grow back, like if there's enough of the stem there. We're gonna see what happens. one step closer to getting our grass planted. Been looking around for a product. Straw is pretty expensive up where we're at, so I found this guy on Marketplace that has a bunch of old hay that's been sitting outside. The tarps blew off. It's soaked. It's kind of mold. It got wet. It's not good enough to feed for his cattle, and he had a big stack there free for the taking. So we made a trip to Bonner's Ferry, got close to 60 bales. I'm afraid I might have to go back. I don't know if I have enough. Tomorrow we're going to be putting seed in the ground. Well, right here's our lawn. I'm gonna dump it in this pit. You don't like getting out of the bag. I think this is where the term being a hayseed comes from. One of these seeds looks pretty insignificant.
The final step was putting all this old hay that I had gotten, spread it out thin over the entire yard. The reason for this, if you cover the seed, it gives it partial shade. Most importantly, it retains the moisture. If you don't cover it and you don't get rain, the seeds will kind of sit there. And unless it's raining for a week straight, it almost won't come up. So this is the reason that we put all this old hay down, covered the entire area, spread it out thin. And this was a very tedious project. It didn't come apart like dry hay or dry straw would have. We had to work quite a bit to get it shook out. And as you can see, it was dusty, ended up wearing respirators. Took 2 days to do this. Boy, were we glad when this was done.
Welcome to our channel. My name is Mary Mullet. But this past few days we've been busy working on our yard, getting it ready to seed, put grass seeds in. This is elk burgers. And I'm gonna fry this up for our burritos that we're having. But before I fry up my elk burger, I like to season it up with a little bit of sage, chili powder, garlic, and did you know, a little bit of sugar, or in my case, I like to use Trim Healthy Naturals Gentle Sweet. That little bit of sweetness in my hamburger just gives it such a delicious flavor. I mix it all together and now it's ready for the frying pan. This, what I am making, is fry sauce. 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, a heaping teaspoon of mustard, some oregano, and a little bit of garlic. You mix it all together and it is so yummy on French fries, burritos, and even on sandwiches. When making tacos or burritos, there are just an endless ingredients that you can use. But for my family, my boys like just the basics. A little bit of sauce, cheese, meat, and some lettuce.